the things I did when I was young, and I was actually working on my master's degree at the time, this would be early 70s, is that I saw doors to opportunity. And being a woman in the 70s in the Arizona cattle industry was a big barrier. Autism was just a non-issue. And there's a scene in the HBO movie that's a very important scene of seeing opportunity. The editor of our State Farm magazine was at a cattle event, and I went up and I got his card because I knew if I wrote for that magazine, that would help my career. And I had done my master's thesis on cattle behavior and different types of squeeze chutes at feed yards. So I wrote a summary of that article. And then I approached him about doing a column. And a few months later, I was made livestock editor. That opened many doors because there were women in ag journalism at the time. And I got respected for writing accurate articles. Like if I covered the cattle feeders meeting, I summarized the talks accurately. That was a door to opportunity. And then I worked for a year and a half for a feedlot construction company, doing some design work, but also their advertising. And I learned all the steel and concrete stuff. There was a wonderful draftsman there named Davey. And then I finally had to quit that job because the company was going broke and I was being asked to purchase advertising that I knew they weren't going to pay for. That was something, no, I draw the line at that. And because I wrote for Beef Magazine. By this time, I had articles in national magazines because that press pass got me into meetings with big, expensive registration fees. And so then I approached the editor of national magazines, and I wrote about some of my cattle handling stuff. And then after I left the feedlot construction company, I got my first little jobs, and then I wrote about them. And the way I sold jobs was to show off my drawings. Here's one of my drawings right here. It's in my book, Thinking in Pictures. What I learned to do was to sell my work and not myself. Really important thing. And since I was designing facilities, I had, impressive stuff I could show off. And that's how I sold jobs. I learned to sell my work. So gradually I built up my business, one project at a time. Now I know other people on the spectrum, and I figured this out many years later, that owned metal fabrication, metalworking shops. And they started out with little tiny jobs. And then they ended up, 15, 20 years later, building entire plants. All kind of going in the back door because I'm an extreme visual thinker. I can't do higher math. Can't do it at all. And the thing is, the world needs object visualizers like me. But these other people, and I worked with two of them that were very autistic, undiagnosed. I can't go into the details of what they make because I can't identify them. But they have 20 patents each, and they're selling the stuff that's being sold all around the world. And so I learned to sell my work. And one of the things that helped me to have the courage to go up and talk to the editor is when I was a child, I sold candy for charity. That taught me to go up and talk to people. Another thing that was done in my generation is that when kids were 7 and 8 years old, when the parents had a party, you had to put on your good clothes and serve as hostess and hosts for the guests at the party. Greet them at the door. We were not allowed to use their first names, take their coats, serve the snacks. That also taught not being afraid to go up to people and talk to them. My brother's not autistic. He became a senior bank vice president. He despised those parties, but he admitted that they helped him talk to older men. That helped him to advance to a bank vice president. So these are two things I had in my 50s upbringing that helped me have the courage to go up and ask for that card, because that scene in the movie is absolutely real and it's very, very important. And lots of times people don't see doors to opportunity. And a lot of people on the spectrum are very anxious. Yes, and I had this problem. And when another door to opportunity opened up, going to my aunt's ranch when I was 15, 16 years old, I was afraid to go. Mother gave me a choice. I could go for a week or I could go all summer. Not going was one of the choices. She gave me the choice. And when I got out there, I loved it. Some of these kids, we're going to have to push them a little bit to get them to try new things. But always have some choices. It was 1 week or all summer. And going out to my aunt's ranch was the best thing that ever happened to me.